We are Stir the Pod podcast show. I'm your host, Trevor, and tonight we are joined by Andy. Andy, how you doing tonight?
What up, what up?
We're also joined by Alex. Alex, how you doing tonight?
Yo, yo, yo.
And we are here. It's time. It's the 5-year anniversary of Stir the Pod. There's been so many great moments, and we're here to kind of throw us in the time machine and go back and relive some of the greatest moments in Stir the Pod history. I'll start with Andy. Andy, what are you most excited about tonight?
You know, it's kind of just like going back down memory lane and seeing everything that we've been through with the fans, with the AWLs. And, you know, there's times when it feels like the challenge and even Stir the Pod at times can be a bit of a stretch, but goddamn, looking back on what we've been through, I couldn't be happier. I've laughed. I don't think I've cried. I don't think I've really thought aside from the trivia episodes, but it's been a ride, and I'm excited to relive it tonight.
Absolutely. Alex, opening thoughts.
Yeah, 5 years. I mean, this is probably to us like the most special podcast we've ever done because it is kind of, we're not talking about like, episode 3 of Spies, Lies, and Agents. Like we're just talking about all of the awesome memories that we've made with our fans. We're going to talk about our fans and our listeners and our viewers a lot tonight, I'm sure. But just being able to kind of like take a second, take a step back and reminisce on 5 years. I mean, just saying 5 years and to just kind of get out in front of it. It was November of 2017. So it's now been like 5.5 years, but the season was going on during the time. So we figured
season's going on, marriages happening. That podcast will be coming soon. Don't worry about that.
So we figured let's just do the 5-year anniversary special in the off season. We'll go all out, which we are. But yeah, I mean, to think that we started in November of 2017 is just wild.
Absolutely. You know, it's crazy to think, you know, this was all started from kind of a joke. Like, I feel like, do we just want to start there? Kind of the origin,
a little history,
Stir the Pod, little time machine-esque. And, you know, I feel like Stir the Pod, which back in the day, for the real higher level guys, no, it was called BMFEP. And BMFEP was what, 2-3 years? 2 years.
Like 2.5.
Probably, 2.5, yeah. So probably half the amount of time. And it was all kind of based on a joke, kind of. Me and Alex kind of started this pod being kind of, don't worry, you came in later, don't worry. But me and Alex kind of started this pod. We were kind of like, hey, let's just start recording while we were drunk, you know, just see what happens. And, you know, we do 1, we do 2 podcasts, haha, very funny, blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff. But then it really got going. You know, we started getting people on the show. Adam Nitos, as you guys know in the chat, joined us for a few episodes. And then obviously he got reeled back in. And then obviously Andy became one of our full-time listeners, full-time podcasters. I believe he won Rookie of the Year during one of our podcasts as well. So great to have Andy on the pod. And here we are, the 3-man team of Stir the Pod now. It's honestly crazy. And we look back at some of these moments, and I don't want to, you know, steal anything, but like, I mean, being on Jumbotrons, being on, having guests on.
You said no steal anything.
What?
And now you're stealing things.
All right.
Well, so when you ask kind of like favorite thing about doing this podcast, I think one of the things I love the most too is kind of what you mentioned about how like there have been, you know, since we've been doing this for 5 years, different stages and eras of the podcast itself. Like, and I don't want to step on the moments countdown, but like, you know, we've done things that have made our podcast better, and we've improved, and we've made segments, and we've used better technology and all of this stuff. And so, I mean, looking forward, I feel like every season, every off season, that's what we talk about to each other is like, how can we make this even better? How can we make it even funnier, even more enjoyable for the fans? And I mean, if you look at I think we're proud of what we do now, the product we put out, but you compare that to like day one, and it's like, I mean, day one,
it was a joke.
It's smirky, but it was a joke.
It was a joke that literally turned into us getting real life contestants on the podcast, us doing this weekly, us having the Mikey the Doctors of the world join us in the chat. And I mean, it's just a full, complete circle of like, holy shit, like what did we just build, or kind of thing. And, you know, it's not like a pardon my take by any means, but it's still something we fucking love doing every week.
And we probably, like, when we started it as a joke and did those podcasts in 2017, and you asked us, like, if in 2023, we probably would have said, like,
no chance.
Like,
yeah,
this is going to go on for 2 months. We'll give up. We won't care about it anymore.
Do we know how many episodes we've actually recorded?
I think it's
over 100. Yeah, I was going to say.
I think we're coming up on number 500.
Watch it. I know we've done over 8 seasons now, right?
Our first season that we recapped was Vendettas.
Yes. Which, no, it was actually Chance for
Stars, I guess. Yes. Yeah. So Vendettas, I think, was 31. So if you add 30.
Yeah.
It was what the last one was.
Yeah.
So 8 plus 1, 9 seasons with like all of our bonus stuff that we'll get into later. But I did want to ask you guys, or bring up this point too. I was thinking about it earlier in terms of just, reflecting on everything. One of, I think, the benefits of doing the podcast that we might not even realize is that I feel like it's kept us engaged with the show in a way that, like, if we didn't do a podcast, if we just didn't do a podcast, never thought about doing it, and we just kind of texted each other about it, the challenge every now and then, starting 5 years ago, I feel like there's a chance one of us, if not all of us, would have, like, given up on the challenge.
Oh, I think without a doubt.
Because we've talked about it several times, how the show has gone downhill. And that's sad, obviously, but, like, I feel like having the podcast and having this to look forward to after each episode has, like, kind of given us something else to look forward to.
Absolutely. It's almost like, and I feel like we've said this during the podcast, is if the episode sucks, it's our job to make it look 10 times better and talk to you guys and have a good time. Because, I mean, nowadays, it's like we complain every fucking episode about, it ain't a 60-minute episode. It's 90 minutes of our time wasted away of watching a bullshit episode and then us having a grand old time afterwards with you guys. And that's why we do it. Like, and I love doing it. We all have full-time jobs and shit like that, and we work around it and we make it happen. So, I have a good time. I know Andy does. I know Alex does. And, I'm very excited, for this podcast tonight. So should we just dive right into kind of the format and kind of everything that we kind of planned out?
Yeah, let's give the listeners a little background info into how kind of this came about. So I feel like for the 5-year, we knew we wanted to talk kind of like we've been doing, revisit everything. And so we actually made a list of our collective 10 favorite moments in podcast history. And these moments, I mean, we'll get into them, but, there are some episodes, some like very specific things, some jokes. And we picked our 10 favorite. We're going to go through all of them. And I think for each one, we'll kind of give some background info, maybe play an audio clip if we have it. And then we'll get to the end, maybe do some honorable mentions, and then do a little a wrap up and everything. So like we said, this was, we wanted to do the podcast to talk about our favorite moments. So we figured instead of just trying to ramble through them, we would actually make a list of 1 through 10 and everything.
Absolutely.
So we have 1 through 10, but I think we're going to do it chronologically, right?
Correct.
So we picked our 10 favorites, and we're just going to start with start with going through. What?
Go ahead.
So we're going to start. What should we say? This is moment number.
This is moment
1.
I think it's so. Yeah, like Alex said, we're going in chronological order. So this is no top 10 list of greatest moments. It's just straight up in order.
But it is 10 moments.
But it is top 10.
Yes, but it's top, but not in order. The first moment is not the greatest moment in Stir the Pot history.
No, it's top 10 moments in chronological order.
Oh, you got jokes on?
No, that's just the format.
All right, so the first one, because we already kind of touched on it a little bit, is the first ever podcast that we've done. And this was, Trev, you want to give a little background info on this?
Yeah, so this is when, like, me and Alex, this was just us. I believe it was Champs for Stars preview show. Yes. Correct me if I'm wrong. And Alex and I had no idea what recording was. Obviously now we're on Restream and stuff. And, this is taking the audio. We publish it on like an Anchor site where it distributes to all these other platforms. Back in the day, what me and Alex used to do, I used to set up fucking GarageBand. And I would call Alex and I would record our entire conversation and publish it 2 days later or a day later or whatever. It was literally Pirate Trip-esque, like Barstool, like it was nuts. So like we kind of talked about already, it was one of those episodes where like, and Alex is going to play the clip. We had no idea what we were going to say. Like I've never did a podcast before. Alex had never done a podcast. And we were just kind of like, hey, let's shoot from the hip and see what happens. So I think Alex has a clip right now that he's going to play from the first episode. I think maybe the intro, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. So this is the very first.
And before you start that, the real AWLs out there know that before Sir the Pod was BMFE. And literally,
I think you touched on that.
Well, we're touching on it again. BMFE Pod right here, right now was all right. Just play the fucking.
All right. All right, we're off to a great start. All right, so this is the first podcast clip we have.
Are live, coming here for the first annual BMFE podcast show. I'm one of your hosts, Trevor, and I'm also here with my pal, Alex. Alex, how are you doing tonight?
Trevor, I'm doing good, man. How about you?
I am doing just great.
All right, Trevor. So I think for this first episode, we were going to just talk a little about ourselves in terms of the challenge, and then I think we're going to go over some of the logistics of the BMFE podcast, and then I think we're going to dive in to the.
Anything else?
I mean, I would recommend for all of our listeners to go back and listen to that episode. Because I mean, I feel like we didn't really do the spinoffs that much, but we started the podcast in like prime spinoff seasons.
Yeah.
And that episode was just very smirk. I love doing it, and you go back and listen to it, and it's like almost unrecognizable from what we have today, where we're hopping on YouTube and we have segments and all of this, and like you said, we didn't have a plan for that podcast.
No, we literally just went live and said fuck it, and whatever happened. I mean, I think it's kind of funny. You listen to kind of how we just talked in that intro. I still do the We Are Live thing. Alex didn't go yo, yo, yo or anything like that. What did I say? My pal, Alex? Like, I mean, when have I ever said that in my life?
And, well, what I just realized too is that from day one, from that episode, I didn't play it because I was listening to it, but we did have our podcast intro.
Yes.
This is a wild game of survival.
Yes, I know. So good.
So we've had that since day one. And I remember that was from first episode of Dirty 30. I just recorded the audio from it and put it on there. So that's something We Are Live, like you said, has been carried on. But that first episode, I would just recommend. I mean, we played the intro, but I would just recommend everybody go listen to it at some point.
Absolutely. So moving on to kind of our next moment. And this is one of our first guests that we've ever had on the podcast, and arguably the best cast member we've ever had on the show. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Most popular
for sure. Most well-known. But even in general, this podcast was off the rails. Like, we had Kellyanne on the pod, and Kellyanne, I mean, let me tell you, I don't even know where to begin with this podcast because we literally had her ordering fast food on this podcast. We had her breaking the news Wes was coming back on this podcast. It was incredible. She was a firecracker. It was awesome. Alex, I think honestly on this podcast too, I think I said over under like 75 words too. Alex kind of like was riding the horse the entire time and wouldn't let me kind of jump in, but it's all good.
Yeah. I mean, this was in the era, I think it must've been between challenge seasons where we didn't have episodes to talk about, but we wanted to record. And so that was back in the day where I was just DMing every like C tier, D tier challenger that they had at the time.
Like Alton.
Trying to get interviews. And you remember the first interview that we had? Who it was?
Was it Trey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Trey, I literally said 20 words.
He's a talker. Trey is a talker, but he was a great guest. But then I think the second one was maybe Dario 2.
Rafi.
And then I think we got Kellyanne, and it was a big get at the time. And she like you said with the West News, what season would that have been? Was it Rivals? No, Rivals 3 had already happened.
No,
was it a spinoff? Or no, it was War of the Worlds.
Yes,
it was War of the Worlds. It was Wes had been away for a few seasons, and he was coming back from that. And I think Kellyanne said in the episode that like Wes called her, saying like I'm thinking about going back, blah blah blah. But yeah, we got Kellyanne on, and that podcast was actually me, Trevor, and Adam. And so I think Trevor said nothing outside of the intro.
No,
me and Adam kind of asked the questions and everything.
And honestly, like during those podcasts, I'm not gonna lie, like I think I was scared shitless talking to these people. Like if I said the wrong thing, and I think later on when we had a few other guests, Josh Martinez and Marie, like I started poking the bear a little more. But in those beginning stages, like I was just kind of shell shocked. We were even talking.
I was nervous too.
I was like, I'll let Alex has been watching the challenge longer than I have, and Adam as well. So I kind of let them kind of run with it. But still, like it was one of those moments where you're just like, how the fuck are they on our podcast?
And at that point, we had only done like probably 8 episodes.
Oh
total.
yeah, it was
like,
definitely
we didn't know how to like do podcasts and like talk to people and everything.
Let me go this route with you. Do you think Kellyanne ever listened to that podcast?
Oh, no chance.
Yeah, I was gonna say no chance at all.
She says in the podcast. Remember, we asked her about Dario because we smirk at Dario, and they hooked up on Bloodlines, and we asked her. And I think her direct quote was, "I forgot Dario existed."
I mean, come on. Mike the Doctor writes, "How many DMs did it take to get her to reply?" I think she was one of the ones.
She was actually pretty good.
There's a few people that are on our hit list with DMs, but no, I think she was pretty quick. I think Alex now has a clip from that podcast that we would love to play.
Yeah, so I think this is her ordering food, like you said. I mean, if you listen to the whole podcast, it's very clear that she had like headphones in and was like running errands the entire hour that we talked to her. And it's
where we were on her totem pole. Like, I mean,
the clip we're gonna play is you can tell she walks into like a supermarket or a deli or something and just decides to order food, and you can like very clearly hear what she's saying. And this was at the time where we didn't have video, but I think we were all like thinking to each other, like, what the fuck is going on? This is incredible.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna play this clip here.
Together in potential marriage, and meanwhile you and Wes are dating at the time, so that's a pretty awkward situation for you to be in.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. One second. Pardon me for the phone call, by the way. Can I get some of this duck prosciutto? And does it have any pork? It's just duck, right? Perfect. And then can I also get this truffle goat cheese? And did you guys have a good sheep cheese you like?
Yeah, I really like.
Perfect. I'll take a little of that.
Well, how much?
A little. I don't know. Just enough for 2 people to go, ooh, look at us, being fancy. Thank you. Okay, sorry.
Oh, you're good. How does all that food that you just ordered compare to what you had to eat on the ruins now?
Great question.
Oh my god. Honestly, that wasn't as bad.
Great question up there. I mean, just insane to think about. That
my favorite part is that you can hear the guy she's talking.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's
I like this one.
Just insane.
And she probably has no idea that exists on a podcast somewhere.
No chance at all. I just, that whole order is just so smirk.
In that moment, I mean, we said we're going chronologically, but like when I think of best podcast moments, that's
top
very
3. That's
high
top
up
3
there.
for sure.
It's just pure smirk.
There's another moment, and it might be an honorable mention, but you kind of just sit there like, what am I supposed to say during this situation? Like you just kind of freeze and you're just like, guys, like, let's keep this thing going. But yeah. So
and again, go listen to that whole podcast.
Yes.
There's a lot. That was the best moment, but there's a lot of great moments in that episode.
Honestly, she is a person I would love to have back on the podcast.
And I think she would probably do it too.
You think?
Yeah, and she's been on some of the spinoffs now too.
Very true. I did forget about that. And the worst part about it is I wish Adam Meadows was off that podcast and Andy was in that podcast.
Oh my God. People forget I haven't been on a podcast with a guest.
That is why. Well, you were on the podcast with Adam Meadows. That counts.
No, he's not a guest.
What is he then?
A fill-in.
A fill-in? I mean, is that giving him too much credit?
No.
A fill-in?
A fill-in? Like an extra in a movie?
I would give him less credit than that.
Less than an extra in a movie?
Yeah.
What would you say?
Maybe a stunt double.
Okay.
So he doesn't even get credited. He's just.
Well, people forget Brittany was an extra.
God, what movie? Ted 2. Oh yeah,
Ted 1.
Ted 1, classic. You always bring that shit.
I did forget.
God damn it. All right, so moving on.
Guilty as charged.
The next moment, and this kind of goes all together with us, is when Ashley took the money and run. Ran, whatever. It's all the same these days. IU education, classic mix up. This was also a moment where we were all live together. Spoiler free for me and Andy. He obviously knew.
I didn't fucking know. Yeah. Adam did.
No, I didn't know. You knew. It's all right.
Yep.
And this was the first time actually we were live on anything. We went live. This was on Periscope, I believe.
Yes.
Periscope. Go ahead.
So I think this was before Restream.
Correct.
So before we had just been recording the audio. And I want to say it was like Thanksgiving break. It was maybe the Tuesday or Wednesday before Thanksgiving because we were all in town and we knew it was the finale. And so we thought, like, why don't we all just get together and watch it? And then I think for the whole episode, we periscoped, and it was probably pretty shitty audio and quality overall. But we did it. We tried it out. And then we recorded the podcast afterwards, I think without Periscope. But yeah, like you said, it's kind of pre-restream.
Yeah.
This was the first time we were live.
And it was I think it was one of the first moments too that the core four were together for a pod. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
It might have been one of the first, if not.
And one of the only.
Yeah, that one kid's locked up.
And
Vito's pops in for a cup of coffee every now and then.
That's that double,
And it was probably like, it was not just the fact that we were all together, but I think it was the fact that we were all together for like an actual important moment to watch. Like, it wasn't just a regular shitty finale. It was like something that was like actually interesting.
And I will say, this was probably, like, kind of to touch on what you just said, this is probably the biggest challenge moment since Bananas taking the money and run. Would you say that?
Since we started.
And that's what I was getting at. Like, obviously we weren't recording during that moment. Some people were in Ireland and stuff during that time, but that's a different story. But this moment, I was shell-shocked. And I don't know how you felt during it. I know Alex was spoiled beforehand, but like your thoughts on when you saw it live.
Honestly, if I were to describe how I felt, I would just say like shell-shocked. I mean, it was.
I didn't know he was going to say that. You can tell by the way.
It was one of those moments. One of those moments in the challenge that just kind of sneaks up on you, and it doesn't come too often. And when it happens, you're just kind of sitting there and you're just kind of shocked.
No. All right. So Alex has a clip from this, and I think you can see the reaction from all our faces where we're just kind of like shell-shocked.
All right, here we go. It might be hard to hear.
All right.
Fuck Shane. Bananas! Who was that standing above? That was fucking whoever. That was like a white guy. That wasn't Devin. Yeah, Devin. God, do you see Paulie? Oh my God. We gotta rewind that. Here we go.
Yeah, look at all us leaning back.
We show bananas. Here we go. Over under, they show bananas.
You're good. There you go.
I bet split. No way she splits. Here we go.
See, all those things you said about all the other partners is true, but this guy's belittled me, put me down, slut-shamed me, and also threatened my life and my family's life. I'm keeping the money.
Wow!
Oh my God. Wow. Because this is nothing compared to what I went through all season. He said, walking through hell, I lived through hell.
God, look at our faces. We look shell-shocked.
I mean, that was an all-time challenge moment. It was. And we were there live, like, again, the core four, alive and well.
God.
Welcome to the challenge. Welcome to Stir the Pod. That was a great moment.
Was that Stir the Pot or was that BMFEP?
I think it was still BMFEP.
Was that kind of the last?
That was a transition.
Farewell. It was the farewell tour.
I thought it. So two things. One, do we remember if the reunion was right after or was it next week? I want to say it was. I know for Bananas it was right after when he took the money and ran.
Yes.
I can't remember if it was or not, but
I think it was the week after.
It might have been the week after, but I remember that night we recorded a recap of that episode, and that's an all-time episode to go back and listen to. But
didn't that podcast, like Adam left, but then he came back down like 2 hours later? He was talking to your parents or something like that.
But what I was going to ask you, I think we've debated multiple times which Take the Money and Run is better.
I mean, we all.
I think we've landed on Bananas.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Because without Bananas, Ashley can't happen. And even though it was less money, there's more history to it and everything. But what I was gonna ask is who had accepting the fact that Bananas was a better overall moment. Who do you think had the better delivery of "I'm gonna steal all the money"? I think the way Ashley delivers it and she just goes for it.
I respect that.
I like that. Because Bananas, Bananas, his whole thing, he spent like 2 minutes talking about how good of a partnership
Sarah was a great partner.
And that's like all just classic Bananas. I kind of like Ashley's delivery.
The only thing that I'll say with Bananas, the thing that makes his speech better is I don't know how many I got left in me to eat. And he's done literally 10 fucking seasons. Maybe more like 2 days ago. Was he on more? Has he been on more seasons
since he said that?
Since he said that?
I think so.
I
with
think
all the
so.
spinoffs.
That's the best part about it.
Yes. Just legend.
That was a great moment to be there for and everything.
John,
yeah, and we were there.
It was literally Bananas. God.
I can say I was shell-shocked.
God, enough. All right, moving on. Next moment we had after Ashley takes the money and run. I believe it became the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
A little before it was April
2019.
April 2019. We had our first wedding podcast, and this wedding podcast. First off, I don't know how we did this podcast. Like, we snuck out. We kept going back in, out, swip, swap. It was just insane. I think my LVP of the night for that podcast was orange juice and Tito's because we just got so fucked up from that night. But it's Adam's wedding. Adam's wedding was just banana lands. Andy, I mean, you were his best man in the wedding. I mean, like.
Yeah, I was best man in the wedding. Didn't get a whole lot of the opportunity to come on the podcast and enjoy the shit show you guys were cooking up. So I kind of experienced it secondhand. But just the fact that all of the madness that I was experiencing and just the overall vibes of a wedding, and then to know that Stir the Pod was right there in the middle of all of it is just one of those moments that I think is hard to come by in a podcast. And really, I don't want to say we were there, but you two were there on the scene. That doesn't happen often. So great moment. I'm glad I get to relive it. I wish I would have enjoyed it more at the time.
This was one of the very like early days moments that was like had a lot of anticipation around it.
Yes.
Because obviously the wedding date's planned, it's set there, and we knew we were going. And the whole time it was almost like a joke, but we knew we were going to do it. Like, oh, we're going to do a podcast at the wedding. We're going to sneak away and do it.
I think we felt more like it was going to be like 3-4 minutes, quick talking, whatever. And it literally turned into what?
It's
like
probably
30 minutes?
It's probably like 5-minute segments. Or
Yes,
like 5 to 7 minute segments because we would basically take a drink, go sneak out, record something, and then go back and get a refill and like hang out, dance, and then come back. And I think a good part about it too is that just kind of behind the scenes was the wedding was mid-season. So there's actually like challenge seasons and episodes to talk about. And so I think what we did at the time was we were doing our episode recaps, and then we maybe missed the week of the wedding or the week before. And so we decided to just basically recap the episode at the wedding. And so we did pretty much a full episode recap at the wedding. And it was just out of control. And if you listen to it, the best part, if you go back and listen to the whole episode, I think if you search wedding, you can find it. But if you listen to these little 5-minute segments, you can tell where we start and stop. And each time we go back in, you can tell that we're a little more off the rails.
It's the escalator effect. Like, it is just insane. And Alex is about to pull up a clip from it, which is just
and I think it was the episode that it was the episode where Nani is taped to a chair.
No, it was not.
Where Nani and Georgia were taped to a chair, and Turbo and I think Wes were untaping them. Just a terrible elimination. And so that makes for some smirky ranting, I think, by the two of us. But
all right, so Alex has a clip. And
so the first clip I'm going to play is actually from before the wedding, from the basement. We were getting prepared to go. And then I'll fast forward to a clip that's kind of, several hours into the reception, and you can tell. So here's the start of it.
God.
And in about 1 hour, Adam Meadows is getting married, a former co-host of ours.
Very sober.
Former co-host. So right now, we're just doing a little pregame, downing some Ronas, and
watching the episode again.
Watching the episode, just making sure, and we'll be having the podcast, in a little bit. So
what you guys are about to hear is going to be all of the recording at the actual wedding reception, which we all know could just go off the rails. Open bar, but we're still going to give it to you. Full episode recap. We'll try to get Adam.
All right, so then we're going to go to one of the smirkier moments where you can hear somebody come up, and I think we were doing it outside of the bathroom, maybe.
Oh, God.
And somebody needed to use the bathroom.
Is this Ames?
At the time.
Yeah,
here we go.
Rivals 2 and Rivals. And Rivals 2 won. I am also surprised that Rivals 2 won between the 4 seasons.
Mm-hmm. I'm very surprised.
But we created this format to the end, and that's who the fans wanted.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any chance that Duel 2 is ever going to win.
Yeah.
Or probably Duel.
Yep.
And
God, I said wrong.
Is that unlocked up there? Is that unlocked? I gotta take a shit. I gotta take a shit you're gonna read about.
Go for it.
Holy hell.
Knock yourself out, man.
I will.
All right, back to what we were saying. Back to what we were saying. No, back to what you're saying. No, back to what you're saying. Cut that out. No, we good. All right, we're back.
God, I mean, that podcast was just off the rails. I love it. And also, don't sleep. Coming soon, we have about, I think it's like 25 minutes, 28 minutes of content from Alex's wedding. We're waiting for a good time to post it, but we got some good stuff. So don't you sleep. It's going to be awesome. So
don't sleep.
Don't sleep.
Adam's wedding, an all-time episode, an all-time moment.
God. All right. So moving on after the wedding, the next big moment that we had was one of our first Mount Rushmore moments. And this Mount Rushmore for us is so special because this might have been the drunkest we've ever been for Mount Rushmore. And we did relationships. I think we went off the rails.
We'll get into that.
This was pretty bad.
This one was, we were getting lost in the snake.
So this was July of 2020.
So this was COVID era.
This was peak COVID.
Who?
And it was right before we started Restream. So unfortunately, thankfully, we don't have the video for that.
If this was on Restream, it would have been bad. It was unrated.
But I think it was one of those things where we all knew we were going to be in town this weekend. And so we knew we wanted to do a podcast. And I think Total Madness may have just ended. Mm-hmm. So we didn't have any seasons to talk about. And so we decided to do a Mount Rushmore. And we did it on relationships. And I mean, if you look at our whole draft board, you'll notice right away that Trevor ended up with 5 picks. And
let's be very clear.
You knew it.
I knew it.
You knew it.
I was gone, but I knew I did 4 picks. And you guys were like, no, Trev, you're good. You got one more. Yeah. No, fuck you guys. Fuck you, Eric.
But the reason
we dated you.
The reason why that's surprising is partly because of the clip that you'll hear in a second. but it was just I think we all knew we were going to be in town, and so we had a long day of drinking, and it kind of was capped with this Mount Rushmore. I think Mount Rushmore was like 40 minutes, and I think overall, like pound for pound, maybe one of the best performances that we've given, funniest performance.
Oh, I think it's up there with. It's got to be top 3
because we said we were doing Mount Rushmore relationships, but it wasn't necessarily like one male and one female who used to hook up.
You could take it however you wanted.
Yeah.
And so that led to a lot of smirky answers. But the clip I'm going to show is I think Trevor was probably the most gone out of anybody there. I think he might have drove home.
God, watch it.
But Trev, I think, in explaining at least half of his picks, just was speaking gibberish. So
hey, but this clip that we're about to play, it might have aged the best, honestly.
Maybe. Well,
but I don't know.
I had some problematic picks in mine as well.
Yeah, and you had good picks, but we'll just listen to your explanation.
All right, the explanation's bad.
This is one of our favorite moments from Mount Rushmore challenge relationships.
I've seen over the course of watching the challenge would be Bananas and Wes.
Very good pick. Very good pick. So I got back-to-back picks.
I think so. Yeah.
All right. So the first pick I like to go with probably the most recent couple. And I'll go with Jenna and Zach.
Wow. Oh, even after this past season?
I mean,
it's my house. I have a house.
I mean, Zach literally has a house. We understand that. He's literally bought the house.
It's his house. Don't you question it.
Yeah, let's not question it.
Don't you question it.
But, like, I mean, think about it. Like, he literally bought his own house. I mean, Jenna has bought her own house. I mean, they've literally answered the questions. I mean, literally. I mean, this couple makes zero sense to me.
Whoa.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
It makes sense. You go ahead first, please. You go ahead. Sorry.
God, enough of the ahead.
I feel like this couple, like, how has Zach not broken up with Jenna?
Oh, excuse me, she's bad, and Zach is not a bad-looking guy either.
I 100% agree. So when we flip-flop that, but like when we talk about Jenna,
what point are you trying to make?
Breaking up with Zach, how is that possible?
He has a house. Come again?
God, get the fuck out of here.
What's the question?
So, like, my question is, why did Jenna break up with Zach?
Did she?
To my knowledge, they're getting married.
They're about to get married.
God.
I'm confused as to where this question is. What's your question?
I mean, I feel like Jenna has been just 50-50 with this whole situation, and, like, you know, she's been like, oh, I don't know if I can marry Zach. You know, he's been like,
she said.
I mean, I feel like she has.
God.
Where?
God, on like social media and stuff.
They've been engaged and happily engaged.
But like, if you look at like the season and like how everything.
The season he's been a complete douchebag.
Okay,
but she's long gone.
All right. So then my next pick.
All right.
Wait, hold on. What do you think about Jordan and Tori?
That is.
Jordan.
All right. You gotta keep it rolling.
Yeah, I picked Jordan and Tori.
Now that's a good pick. I gave you some flack for Zach and Jenna. I'll give you no flack for this.
But like,
wait, can you pause?
Explain. God, watch it.
Let's hear this.
But like Jenna, like why should
All right. The fact that you gave me slack for fucking Jenna and Zach, and they're still together, and Tori and Jordan.
No. It was your explanation made zero sense.
Yeah, you know, whatever. You know,
you were asking why she was gonna break up with him, and they were engaged.
It was all good.
It made no sense.
It's all good. But in all seriousness,
that was an
all-time
episode.
Went back to Jenna
but in all seriousness, why are fucking Jenna and Zach together?
Enough.
Some might be asking the question. All right, moving on. Are we good, or we want to touch more on that?
That's a great.
I think
that was an amazing episode. I'm probably going to re-listen to that tomorrow.
God, watch it. All right, so moving on. Next podcast after all that shit. Next moment was the first episode on Restream. And, this was a moment I feel like that really changed Stir the Pod completely. Before we would just do these pods, if it was me, Andy, and Alex, or me and Alex, or me, Javi, and Javi, whatever it was, I feel like we didn't really, it was just us three. That was it. By adding a chat into it, going live, it was one of those moments where, God, enough. It was one of those moments where...
Most important moment.
Yes, exactly. I would say adding the chat was the most important moment of Stir the Pot history. I will say that.
So I think starting Restream had a ton of benefits.
Yes.
One of them was the fact that it was just better podcast quality. Because like you said... back in the day, we were doing GarageBand audio, and then we shifted to Anchor, and Anchor was okay, but the audio would get chopped up. But YouTube is much clearer audio, and so it ends up with a final better product. And we can also see each other, so we kind of can tell what the other person's thinking if they want to talk and everything. But yeah, like you said, one of the biggest benefits that we get from it is the live chat. If we had no live chat, then the Restream invention that we kind of implemented would be a huge improvement, but we also get the live chat. And so every episode, being able to come on and talk to you guys, I hope it's kind of similar to what we talked about earlier, where the show isn't great, but we look forward to coming on the podcast. And I hope that, even if some of our viewers don't like the challenge, how it's been the past few seasons, they at least look forward to coming on the podcast, because our favorite thing is reading the comments and questions and interacting with you guys the whole time.
And honestly, I think the best part about what you just said is good, bad, or indifferent of the episode, we're going to have a good time.
Yes.
And a lot of it is because of the live chat, because of us getting on here and doing this and being able to have that engagement as we're doing this, to say all right, we know that the heavy hitters are going to be joining us as we're talking about a shitty episode between two teams from Love Island, UK, and America's Got Talent, Germany, that we just have to suffer through. But when we suffer through it together, it's just enjoyable and it's fun, and we have a great time doing it.
I also love that moment when we go live for the first time, and the first 3-4 comments are this episode sucked, or what the fuck was this person doing? Whatever it is, it's just here we go, strap in,
let's go,
let's hit the ground running, and it's just an awesome moment.
This is what we're doing it right now. This is what our podcasts are like now. We go live on Restream, and it's we've done a dozen different things or so throughout the course of 5 years to make our podcast better, whether it's introducing this segment or getting on Spotify or getting on Apple Podcasts or switching our logo or whatever. But going on Restream is definitively the best improvement that we've had. It's taken us up 2 to 3 levels.
And I think just Alex's point too, just listening to you guys and hearing your opinions and shit like that, we miss things all the time during the pod or during the episode and stuff. And it's I think it helps a ton. What?
Agreed.
God, enough. All right. So do you have a clip from the first EP?
So we're just going to play, the very first intro, the date, November 17th, 2020. So that's pretty much
COVID still.
3 years after we started. So we started November 2017. But yeah, still COVID or whatever. So this is the intro to our very first live. And you might have said this already, but it was when we did it for the first time, we didn't know if it was going to work. We didn't know if people could see us or whatever. But this is the first intro.
Hi, Alex. Alex, how you doing tonight?
Yo.
And we're also joined by Andy. Andy, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, Trev, I'm good. It's a great day.
Great day as well. And let me tell you, we're here. We're live. This is the first, I think, we are live edition of
the Double Live
the pod, doing a nice recap preview show of Double Agents. I'm very excited. I know you guys are very excited. Got some rookies, got some vets. For some reason, I didn't see Johnny Bananas on the list. Was that like a mess up or something? Where was he? Yeah, we'll jump in to that, but feel free. We are on Twitter, on Periscope right now. Any questions, we will dive right into those. Send into the chat. But yeah, with that being said, I say we just dive right into the good old Double Agents preview show.
Let's do it.
All right, good.
All right, so
good.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on. This was one of the first, I think, honestly, the first moment where all three of us were together live for a restream. This might have been the first restream, not Periscope,
probably
restream, where we were in my basement, my parents' basement, and we did a Christmas episode. And this Christmas episode, I mean, it got off the rails real quick. I think we finished almost 2 bottles of Pink Whitney. Like it was bad. And I think the one rule I had was don't use the bathroom downstairs. And I mean, I might have used it during a clip that Alex might be using right now. So it was a very fun pod.
Well, and
from what I remember,
every time you can line up the challenge with IU basketball, it's a guarantee that us two are going to be in very high spirits. And then you throw in the fact that it is holiday time and the spirits are naturally high. In terms of the spirits, they could not have been higher. And we drank a shit ton. There's really no other way to put it.
I think it was Christmas Eve.
I think it was.
Because it wasn't Thanksgiving, right? Oh, yeah. December 23rd, Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve, yeah.
So Christmas Eve, there was a challenge episode. We were all obviously back here together, and we went live for the first time together. And just I remember the next day, I think I published a podcast and I listened back to it right away. And I was just we talked about nothing. I remember having that thought of because if you listen to the thing, you'll hear that some of Trevor's picks for MVP and LVP just were nonsensical. It was we hadn't watched the episode, but it was because we watched the episode, but barely paid attention, didn't remember anything. So
we went all out.
Well, and people forget Trev actually picked, and I don't know if we'll get into this in this clip, but he picked his MVP as Devin. And then his LVP as Devin.
No. Let me clarify.
He said I was going to pick
Devin. I said I was going to pick Devin, but Alex took it from me, even though I already picked him as my MVP.
Yeah.
So if Alex didn't pick him as his LVP, I probably would have done the first ever, maybe, MVP, LVP, same person.
Was this 90-minute episodes?
Oh, I think so, for sure.
So I think it was 90 minutes, probably plus we were probably there 30 minutes before to watch some of the IU game. So 2 hours straight of just drinking in the basement and then starting the podcast while we're all together, challenging each other to shots and everything. And so if you listen to the pod, it's all good. It's all funny. But I think the last 20 minutes or so just go off the fucking rails, and we make no sense. None of us do.
None of us. And we honestly,
in different ways.
We rewatched it tonight to try to get a feel for honestly how bad Trevor was, but none of us were good. I mean, we were just speaking gibberish, talking about nonsense, and let's just play the clip.
All right, here we go. This is the Christmas Spirits episode.
Exactly. That's my Challenger wrote who?
No. That's my radar watch. Oh, okay. Yes, exactly. Thank you. That Challenger, right on par. Leo Rio is my radar watch because I don't know who the fuck he is.
Absolutely.
All right. So that's radar watch. What are you getting into?
LVP? You're LVP now.
We'll do MVP, LVP. Who wants to start?
I mean, it's Andy.
For which one?
LVP.
MVP?
I thought we
No, that was just radar watch.
Oh.
All right, MVP? Yeah. Okay. So my MVP is going to be
God, Alex eating chips.
My MVP. Call me crazy.
Still no pick.
It's gonna be Natalie. Ooh. Natalie dropped Wes. I think that. Wow, that was gonna be my MVP. What else you got? My MVP is gonna be Devin. As much as I hate Devin, I mean, he won the elimination. He's safe.
All right, I'll stop it there. But yeah, the last 20 minutes, I think none of us are making any sort of sense.
Honestly, if you want the full effect of that episode, please watch it on YouTube over listening to it. Because, like, I think I'm head down for, like, a majority of the last 25 minutes, maybe even 35 minutes.
No, the whole episode.
It's it's a great episode to watch. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. Anything else from that?
I think
it's an all-timer.
Like you said, I feel like we've had a couple other in-person holiday season episodes, but I think that's probably the best of them.
Oh, there was one where we did it at Andy's place. We were kind of sharing the holiday spirits, one at mine, one at Andy's. I think next year might be at Alex's if we get an invite, but he's always
Jingle here right now.
I wonder why. So we'll see for next year if we make the cut or not. But moving on, the next episode / moment that we had was one of my favorite, maybe my favorite episode that we've ever done. And it was looking back at all the MVPs and all the LVPs that we've ever given. And this was like, when was it? 2021? Can you see the date on that?
Yeah, July
of 2021. So it was kind of like, my math, 2 years ago exactly.
Good math.
Well,
we'll get our stats department on it.
Yeah, we'll get into that later. But yeah, 2 years ago. So, I mean, we had 3 years of moments. So we've given so many MVPs, LVPs, and some of the lists, some of the names that we brought up for these MVP, LVPs are just, I'm like literally shell shocked at some of them.
Shut up.
So
I think, to give our listeners some more background, I mean, they know for every recap, one of our favorite things we do towards the end of every episode is we give the MVP and LVP picks. And I think aside from this episode, usually it's like we give those picks and that's it. But the stat department has been keeping track of every single pick for MVP and LVP. And so we figured, we do this every episode recap when we just say our picks, but we never really kind of go back and like dive into, who has the most, who has, gotten all these MVPs, LVPs, who's given the most to who. And so I think it was probably the off season. And we were just looking for, an off season pod to do. We didn't want to do another Mount Rushmore or something. And so we got the idea to do kind of a deep dive into our full MVP and LVP list. And so, I mean, like Trev said, and you said it was your favorite episode ever?
I think it's my favorite.
It's up there. I think because we're not my favorite episodes are the ones where we don't have to talk about an episode.
Well,
because you don't have to talk about
the entire narrative.
We get to pick what we talk about, and this is the perfect example of doing that.
Well, and like these episodes that we're doing tonight, like for example, it's a time machine episode, and it's like us going back and looking back at great moments, and like some of the moments that you're about to hear from the clip Alex plays, it's just like, how the fuck did we pick this as an LVP? And it's like so smirky. It's awesome.
And it's almost kind of like this episode was a bit of a time machine in and of itself. So us now talking about the time machine, it's kind of a domino effect.
Oh my God.
And it's kind of like Inception in a way of going back and looking about the shit that we used to talk about and what we used to vote for is just incredible.
Oh.
And I like all the picks. All the picks are just top notch. And to see them all like laid out like that is just amazing.
I like the Inception thing, like me, Leo, you, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, him, Ellen Page. Like it's a very good comparison, I'd say.
Agreed. Me, Leo, you, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Whoa, what? You just slid that in there. I'll be Tom Hardy at school. All right. So Alex has a clip from the MVP LVP. This is the moment, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, where we just list off all the one-time LVPs.
Yeah. So I think we split kind of the whole podcast up into like MVP section, LVP section, and we went through the leaderboard. And I think smirkiest part, which I'm going to play here, was when we got to the LVP side of all the people who have only gotten one LVP.
Yeah.
Because if you only get one, it means it's very obscure, random, smirky. Because somebody like Josh, Fezzi, they're going to rack up the LVPs.
Yeah.
But the one-timers are going to be weird people, inanimate objects, children sometimes. So here's, I think this is the list of the one-time LVP receivers here.
One LVP vote in podcast history. God. All right, here we go. We got Brad, episode format, Amanda's Twitter, Prediction House, Brad's Kids, Lavender Ladies, Young Bucks, Scott Yeager, Final Reckoning, Ashley, Jimmy, Alan's Forearm, Liz, Amanda, African Bumble, Tuck Rule, Morgan, Shailene, Bear, VR Headset, Twitter, Kara's Cartwheel, Bear's Cousin, Puzzles, Duct Tape, OJ and Tito's, the number 2 Team Pauly t-shirt, challenge calendar year, trilogy, Sean, Faith, Josh, Rogan, Pauly's head up Kara's ass.
That was my pick.
MTV app, Nicole, Adam, George's crying face, water sponsor, Team UK, Ginny, Nelson, Zach, Holy Trinity, Real World Bets, Day 2, spoiler accounts, Mustard, Teresa, Drones, Bets, PJ, repeated elimination, guys, Amber M's next partner, ridiculousness, elimination adjustments, Nom's lower back, St. Patrick, Nani's colder wardrobe, Paul, elimination format, Cam, Trevor no longer being able to see the live chat, Zoom/WebEx, 90-minute episodes, garbage trucks, and skull twist.
What a list.
I think
where do we even begin?
God, enough.
We need to establish some sort of like how often we're going to revisit that.
Yeah, Mikey the Doctor wrote in the chat, in a year you'll need to do another one of those recaps.
So I'm looking at the updated list, which I can't remember which of these were said at the time, but I guess this would have been 2 additional years of LVPs. And we have Trevor's 4th grade gym class PTSD received 1 LVP vote, as well as Tommy's muscles, STP better than night, STP, speeches, season length, piece of Andy's heart, participation trophies, Orlando, Florida public school curriculum.
Whoa, what was
How
that?
do we get this?
Wait. What was that one?
I think it was Adam because it's green.
Orlando?
I think it was for Fezzi being a dumbass at some point.
That doesn't sound
right. But yeah, the pick was Orlando, Florida public school curriculum. Kim's grandma. I'm an alien. Huey.
All right. Well, let's save some in case we actually do a deep dive.
Let's save.
Needless to say,
there are endless
going
moments.
back on the MVP LVPs that we've given out is just an all-time moment, regardless of what timestamp you want to put on it.
Yeah.
Challenge house toilets.
Enough. We're done. We're done.
All
right. So moving on, the next moment that we had was some of the bigger moments involving this guy, I will say, especially, and it was the cameos. Now, the first cameo that we have is when TJ wished us good luck on the upcoming year. I believe he called, instead of stir the pod, I think he said stir the pots. It is what it is. We get it, Tej. You're busy.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. But you also have to think, Tej did invite us to Vegas, so hand up.
I'm going to Vegas in 2 weeks.
There we go. And are you gonna hit him up?
We'll see if he answers.
God, I better see a DM tonight.
I'm gonna send him that video and say, "Look, Teach, you send me this."
Just cut it to the end so he knows, and we'll be good to go. So yes, so the TJ Lavin, but more importantly, the moment we've all been waiting for, when Fezzi called out Andy. It's an all-time moment. It is, and I think the best part about it was, I believe it was Adam Meadows was the person who submitted it.
And let me stop you before
wait,
you go.
Wait.
No.
One last thing. I was going to say, you had no idea it was coming. You had no idea it was coming.
Yeah, I had no idea it was coming. But first off, he did not call me out by any means. I called him out, and then he was pleading his case to me. He did not plead his case. He did not do anything. He looked like an idiot, and he kept talking for 5 minutes. Cameos are like 30 seconds. And he was talking for 5 minutes about nonsense.
And you know what the best part about his cameo is? When we looked a year later, it was this top featured one. So you could have went in and seen it like any person, which is awesome. Shout out Adam Meadows. That was him who was the one who got it. But I think we have a few clips from that. But that moment, like we said, we listened to it. It was 5.5 fucking minutes. He was that insecure about a little Andy Burge. Oh, I'm so tough. I'm so shit. And
it was the power rankings.
Yeah.
Yes. And guess what?
And he was right.
I had shocker. Andy was right all along. I had him lower than Devin. Who's got a ring? Devin. Who doesn't have a ring? Fuzzy. I'm right. I'm a genius. Fezzi's an idiot. He's just small brained. That's all it boils down to.
Wow.
And I think that this cameo just proved
so
it.
I think it was probably a week before the season started, because we were doing our preview show.
Yeah.
And they had some sort of challenge promotion like through Cameo where they were giving out free cameos. And I remember I saw a tweet about it. And so I set a reminder because it was like the first 100 people or whatever. And so I booked it, got the link, and then I had to like pick somebody, I think, on the spot that we wanted a cameo for. So I was like, TJ, you can't go wrong with TJ.
Yeah.
And then behind the scenes, I think Adam, our recurring character, did the same thing. And he picked Fezzi. And when you do a cameo, you like type in a message and everything. And I think that's where he typed in the thing about Andy and the power rankings. And so both of the cameos we actually featured in the same episode. I think it was our preview show.
Yeah.
And so we started with TJ. I'll play that in a sec. And then Trev and Adam were kind of tickling the ball sack behind the scenes and did the Fezzi thing. And we were all just kind of shocked by it.
And also, this is a great episode to watch on YouTube because Andy, obviously, like we've said already, had no idea, and his jaw literally hit the ground. And it is an awesome sight to see. I don't know if he's just playing the cameos, so you won't see our live reaction to it, but it is a great moment. So
yeah,
first is going to be the TJ Lavin.
So we'll start with TJ, 46 seconds long. I play this sometimes when I'm feeling down.
Tickle the ball side. 6 o'clock to 12.
Trev, Alex, and Andy. How you guys doing? TJ Lavin here. I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you guys so much for being fans of the show. I really, really appreciate it. Recapping Spies, Lies, and Allies is going to be badass. You guys are going to absolutely kill it on Stir the Pot Challenge recaps. I already know it. So thank you so much for being fans of the show. Thank you so much for doing the damn thing. And Stir the Pot is going to be awesome. All right? So much love. And listen, don't miss the premiere. All right? It's on Wednesday, 8:30 MTV. I'll see you guys then. And hit me up if you ever come to Vegas and we'll meet in person. All right? Maybe we'll even do it like on the road recap. All right? Much love.
There we go.
I mean, that's just so cool.
I mean, TJ Lavin, arguably the greatest host of a show of all time.
Who tops him?
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe Bob Barker. Maybe.
Back, RIP.
Too soon.
But he's in that tier.
Yeah.
Can we safely say?
Absolutely. Yeah.
He's still doing
Bob Barker. God, I just think of Gilmore.
Do you know he's still alive?
Yeah.
No.
He's like 98.
Yeah.
Who's alive of the year?
Because Drew Carey took over for him. God.
All right, so should I play the Fezzi one?
Don't sleep on.
Yeah, let's do it.
Who's the guy who does Wheel of Fortune too? That guy's pretty good.
No, the guy with the big head.
Yeah, that's
he's got a big head.
All
Fast Jack.
Yeah.
Yes, Fast
Vanna
AJ.
White.
Yeah.
She's kind of bad. She was
All
kind
right.
of bad. Not that really bad.
She's probably a junior.
What's up, Andy? It is Fessy from the challenge, but you already know that. Somebody, your buddy Adam, booked you this cameo. So Adam's telling me, Andy, you're 5'9" and you think you could take me in a hall brawl. So height has nothing to do with it. Obviously, I'm a lot bigger than you. I don't know how much you weigh, but I'm not gonna say you can't, but your chances are probably slim to none. I've been playing physical sports my whole life, but you already know that, Andy, because I say that shit all the time because it still doesn't get through y'all's dumbass head. But anyways, it's all love. I heard you host a challenge podcast, and you ranked me 8th out of 8 on the male vets. Well, I don't know how successful your podcast is, but I've never heard of that shit. So
He's mad.
probably need to adjust your rankings, and maybe you'll get some more viewers or listeners or whatever. But I can help you with that. 8 out of 8. That means you think. So I don't know what season it was for. So you think Kyle is a better competitor than me? That shit wasn't even close in elimination. Probably you think Nelson's a better competitor than me?
Yes. Broke his streak.
I don't know. Man, there's some good competitors. I'm not saying I'm the best one because, obviously we don't know how this season plays out. That's about to come out. But I haven't won one, so I talk all this shit. But I talk all this shit because we go on the show to compete, right? And when people don't perform well,
give it like
or whatever, they make excuses. And a lot of people say I made excuses when I didn't win the final because I didn't eat the shit. If that's how MTV
I don't want to make excuses,
fans
but here's my
saw
excuse.
that, and that's how it kind of got played on the episode, was the reason we lost because I didn't want to eat. Maybe looking back on it, I should have ate the food and see what would have happened. But that was a lot of.
How does he end it?
Yeah, good luck with your podcast. And don't forget the Challenge Spies, Lies, and Allies premieres August 11th, 8 p.m. MTV, which is tomorrow. But you already know that. You're going to watch me on TV.
You already know that.
Regardless if you're a fan or not, you still got to see me on your TV, Andy, and talk about me. So good luck with that. It's all been fun. I like to talk shit. Hopefully you like to talk shit, and this doesn't hurt your feelings too bad, Andy.
I think it hurt his feelings. I think I see tears in his
So, I mean, I'll just say, like, this is one of my most proud moments I think about. I mean, I do have to watch this guy every week, but you already know that. Thankfully, I don't have to watch him often because he fucking sucks and he gets off the show very quickly. I was like, it went from like, the emotions were like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And then immediately turned into like, wait a minute, I've got this guy by the fucking balls and he doesn't even know who I am. And then it became, he is like pleading his case to me of why he should be better. And it just, I even just like seeing some snippets from that, I'm just so happy. And I kind of want to go back and just re-listen to it and just like enjoy it because it was so fucking enjoyable. I had him in a pretzel. He didn't know what he was saying. He didn't know what he was doing. And yeah, it just makes me happy. Makes me so happy.
It's pretty impressive, honestly.
Well, so I was going to ask, he just said it there. It's Spies, Lies, and Allies, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did he do on that season? Was that the one? That was the season he fought and got kicked off?
Didn't he fight someone on his own team?
He fought Josh.
Yes.
It was, right?
Yeah, he finished last.
Yeah, he finished dead last. Guess where I had him on my power rankings?
8.
Because
dead last.
Let's do a little 1-by-1 here. His first season, Total Madness, he makes the final, doesn't win.
Quits.
No, that was the second one, I think. I think the second season was Double Agents, and that was one where he was with Casey, and he didn't eat the food, and he quit. I think the first season, Bananas just kicked his ass. And then after that was Spies, Lies, and Allies, which I think he fought Josh and got kicked off. After Spies, Lies, and Allies was Ride or Dies, the most recent season.
Yes.
Where he lost to Bananas and Nani.
Yep.
In the last final.
Yep.
Or last elimination.
Yeah.
So he's lost 1 elimination in his career, 2 finals, nothing to show for it.
I think my favorite part is he's like trying to become the face of the challenge, and he's just failing so miserably because 1, he sucks. 2, he's really not entertaining. He's just not. And 3, like no one likes him.
Yeah.
You have to have one of those. If no one likes you and you're not entertaining, you have to win. If you can't do that, you have to be like, look at Nelly T. Nelly T is plastered all over the challenge right now because everyone likes him and he's entertaining. Fezzi's neither, and he's less competitive than him. And if he has to say anything differently, then he's wrong. He's just flat out wrong. They both have 0 rings.
Did any of you guys watch? I watched probably the first 30, 40 minutes of Challenge USA 2. And Fezzi was on it. And let me tell you, this dude looked fucking like shit. Like he came in, it's like 95 degrees outside. He's wearing a white jacket. Like
it was like a puffy vest.
Yeah, it was a puffy vest.
It was like a cookie wore on the first day of school.
Yes, it literally, like it was out of control.
He's an idiot.
He sucks. He sucks. I would love to have him on the pod.
Same. I'd put him in a pretzel.
Slam ball now.
No, was he? Wait, and also, I know this is about to get a little off the rails. Yes, I was about to bring up. Did anybody see Turbo fucking bare knuckle? Or no, it was pillow fighting. Sorry, it was pillow fighting. Yeah, just out of control. Out of control. Mikey the Doctor, he should be playing on Sunday. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, being a tight end from the University of Tennessee, he should be. So, pretty impressive stuff.
No,
anything else?
Let's top it off.
The cameos were great.
They were all time.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, so kind of our last moment that we want to bring up is just something important that has just been natural to all of us and also to the chat. And it's got to be the reoccurring bit.
And this is the last one. This is the last moment.
This is number 10
of the 5-year anniversary.
And the reoccurring bits have just been off the rails. And I love the bits. And Alex, if you want to dive into a few of them right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think we wanted a moment on our list of 10 to really capture everything that isn't like a singular moment. You know, most of the things we've done so far have been like an episode or a moment. But I think we wanted to kind of talk about the things that show up in almost every episode. And so these are like the recurring, jokes, themes that we always talk about. And so, I mean,
I think the most important one that we always bring up, and it's how we talk about Alex's favorite season of all time being Fresh Meat 3 and how it needs to happen. Like he's a big Fresh Meat 1 and 2, and Alex has been talking about it. I know like the chat knows Alex he's bleeding for a Fresh Meat 3.
Saying Fresh Meat 3.
I mean, that moment right there, I mean, can we just get Andy, don't you think Alex's idea of Fresh Meat 3 would just be incredible?
No, I don't. I think it's my idea. And I think it's something we talk about here often. But I do think a lot of the things that we talk about regularly, the chat knows. The chat's in on it, which makes it so much more enjoyable. Like my favorite question asked for everything. Like any challenge, you see these big explosions and you see these big houses. And I always say, I mean, who's paying for this shit? And everybody, you already know that. And it makes it so much more fun.
But when I see all these houses and all these contestants get drunk and have a good time, it just reminds me of one person that we should be having back on the challenge. And he's just never on the fucking challenge anymore. And it's honestly, can we just please get Tony Raines back on the challenge? Like he is literally the definition of the challenge. What other reoccurring bits, Alex, come to play for you? I know there's one.
So one that pops into my head is I don't think I will ever be able to say the word finale
ever again
in that exact phrase again. It is always going to be finale from here on out, strictly based on this show. And honestly, it's the best part about like the recurring bits like that is you have to just kind of sit down and think about it, and then it just is a rabbit's hole of all the shit we say, everything that you hear like day in, day out, week in, week out, EP in, EP out from us, makes it enjoyable for us, hopefully enjoyable for you guys. And I mean, it's part of the reason why we do this is just have fun.
I mean, I see in the chat right now, even Mikey the Doctor writes, who's Corey's partner? It's like one of those things like radar watch that we just forget about. Like we've done. And that's why like we've attributed like success from us to you guys. Like we forget the shit and it's awesome. Like who's Corey's partner? The evolution of Fezzi's name. Like, I mean, I remember when I said it wrong the first time and it literally stuck for us. It turned into Fezzi.
Or like last season, Horcrux. And then the dude ends up having an awesome season and he's in the final.
And another thing that I personally like is all of us talking about all the bad girls that are on the show. I mean, it happens every year. It's like week 1, we talk about what happens. We talk about, Wes or whatever vet is trying to, round up all the rookies. And then it's, but so-and-so's bad. I mean, it's a tale as old as time.
Yeah. Well, and I think the last one that kind of reminds me, and we always go back to this I feel like it's every 2 times a season, Scott Yeager and the Challenge Maniacs over there. I mean, we love other Challenge podcasts. Let's be very clear. We support them. They're awesome. Scott Yeager and that fucking crew. I mean, just come on.
Well, what I was going to say to Andy's point earlier about like kind of our recurring bits, like being one of our favorite things. And it's like, we do the podcast to have fun and to make jokes. And I feel like to tie it back to Trev's point, fucking what's his name? Sean Yeager, they charge $50 a month to listen to their podcast. Whereas we just come on here, make our own jokes, make our own relationship with the chat, try to have fun, and just go for it. And so, I think the recurring bits are like really what make us, an episode 8 of Double Agents and Spies and Lies. Like that's what makes us want to tune in because the episode is probably fucking terrible. Josh got into a fight and he cried and there was frozen pizza and, Casey and Nani were making out. But we want to come on the podcast to make something out of nothing.
Absolutely.
And to do it in a funny way.
And you wake up after a shitty day and Anissa's eating pasta at 6 a.m. in the morning. And I think that the Josh cries also makes me think of the not only the Stir the Pod bet of the night, but also the Stir the Props of just us, like any given season, talking about, will this happen X amount of time? Nelly T breaking his daily streak. How many times is Josh going to cry? It's going to be more than 25 or less than 25. I mean, there's just stuff like that that's small that you kind of often overlook. But when you think back on like the things that we love about this show and about doing this, it's stuff like that is just like, it's the best.
Absolutely.
And the unfortunate part about right now is there's probably 20 other things that we're overlooking because we just can't. We can't remember all of the the little funny things, but like if somebody were to say it right now, it'd be like, oh yeah, we bring that up all the time and it's funny every time we bring it up. And that's really why we do it.
And there's nothing better than the chat getting our jokes and stuff like that. There's literally nothing better than that. So is that kind of it with our that's the last reoccurring bit. Chattanooga. So I said it earlier. I was waiting.
No,
did you? Oh, you want to pull up the clip? Yeah.
So I think I mean the joke, the point of the joke that for the Chattanooga thing is that you don't really mention it. But I think for now we'll all right, show the pig roast.
God, enough of the back it up. Up.
All right, that's Anissa. That's Anissa in the elimination. She's like the pig roast. But for the Chattanooga thing, what I was saying is that the part of the joke is that we don't really explain it, but we'll just explain it right now for any of our new listeners. But basically on Fezzi's first episode of the challenge, it's Ed from the Circle. It's another one.
I was big on Ed from the Circle.
We were big on the Ed from the Circle.
He was out.
He was out.
I'm an alien.
And Mikey, honestly, thank you. It's again small stuff like that even we can overlook. But then you bring something up like Ed from the Circle, and it's just like it's so much fun and it's so enjoyable.
Watch him drop that.
Yeah, Pierce.
Watch him drop this.
All right, what do you got? So what we're gonna show is the stupid Chattanooga joke that we do all the time, and basically it's on his first episode. What
can I preface it a little bit in terms of just a bit?
Go ahead.
So the bit itself is that bless you. When Fezzi came on the show, we talked about how he said he played football at the University of Tennessee and that there was such a big delay before Chattanooga that we were all like, oh, he's trying to say he played at the University of Tennessee, which has produced some incredible football talent like Peyton Manning, my GOAT. And like he just tried to like downplay the fact that he didn't play at the University of Tennessee. So that's kind of I'll set the table for that's really the bit of it all. But let's take a look at what actually happened.
Yeah, so this is Fezzi actually his straight from the episode, how he says Chattanooga.
My life revolves around athletics. I was a 2-time Division I All-American at University of Tennessee at Chattanooga.
That was a big delay.
So clearly he says Chattanooga like right away. But I think the first time we brought it up, like you said, we were like, oh, that was like
the University of Tennessee. At Chattanooga.
Even though Fezzi clearly says it right away.
Yeah,
but we took it and slowly but surely just like made a joke out of it and extended the pause to the point where now when we bring it up, we say Chattanooga and keep talking and we keep saying other sentences and then come back to Chattanooga. And so this is just another example that I found of us doing that.
And the chat's in on it too. I love when you guys sit there and chat about when Fezzi played at the University of Tennessee, and then we'll talk for 20 minutes and you'll throw in Chattanooga. I mean, it's the best part about it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Every time we say University of Tennessee, we're going to stop there and we're going to come back to Chattanooga at some point.
So it'd be like 20 minutes later.
Why would she pick this other bigger, older guy who's also won like 3 finals and has been on the challenge for 15 seasons? Why would she want him over me? I'm me. I'm the Fezmeister. I played football at University of Tennessee. Why would you not want to be with me? And then, of course, during his confessionals, he's just like, oh, I'm happy to be with Casey. Like, I'm happy that I get thorough, but the deal it was just awesome. But I also think that if CT won, I think he would have kept Amber too. And the reason I say this is because, and CT said this at the start, the running's everything. Amber B was waiting on CT for that to finish that 3-mile run. No one else was like that. The guy was
still
leading
talking
the pack for every duo aside from them. So if I'm CT, I'm like, you know what? I'm the slow one. If I'm the slow one in my team's winning the final. Chattanooga. There it is.
I would love to get that time of how long he went on that rant for and then hit the Chattanooga. So I think that's kind of all our top 10.
That was number 10.
So any honorable mentions that we want to get into? I know, like, I see some in the chat. Andy's rants are always a good one. Anissa's pig roast, always a classic one.
Yeah, we had talked kind of too about like our other podcasts that we do, like non-episode recaps. So like Legends Tour, Mount Rushmore's, Challenge Madness, all of those ones where, like we said earlier, we don't have to recap a shitty episode, or we can kind of do what we want. I feel like those are always good.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not really. There's just so many small things that I love, like, and I'm kind of just going off what we've talked about, but like, I love how we like to talk about shit like Burger King being the sponsors and like Tony saying he's the Pippen to Jordan and him wearing the crown. And like, I think when we had a shitty episode and we talked about Puss in Boots for like 20 minutes.
Puss in Boots is a great
for 20
moment.
minutes on the pod. Like, that's the kind of shit that I just love doing, which is like, it's incredibly hard to like talk about as like a best moment, but like it is just, it's one of the, like my favorite parts about this show.
Absolutely. Can you say hi, Maya? Hi, Maya. Andy Rats, are you Ben Yadair Rats?
Maybe rants. I do love a good rant. When I get going on Fezzy, when Fezzy has a shitty episode, I love just getting on here and just giving them the fucking business.
Burger King is a good one. That's always a classic. I have one moment, and I can pull up a picture of it. Is some of you guys know I'm a big Xavier fan. These guys are a big IU fan. This past year, IU played Xavier. Do I have any involvement with Xavier Athletics? Maybe. We'll see with that. But literally during the game this year when IU played at Xavier, there was a video board message. Oh, I don't think you can see that at all. Shit. Can we see it? No. Nope, not going to be able to see it. I'll have to post it later. But there was a video board message that went out that was a happy 5-year anniversary to Stern Pod. Definitely was a good moment in STP history. Anything you can think of, Alex?
Well, I like all the segments too. You know, we have This Day in Challenge History, Radar Watch, MVP, LVP, and that's something too where on a week-to-week basis, we might have a shitty episode, but having those few segments at the end kind of give us a better chance to kind of redeem the whole night and to bring something back. So I feel like the segments, we talked about that Jaeger douchebag already, right?
Yeah,
we talked about that.
How about the t-shirts? Did we talk about them? That's a good clip. I think we should pull up that clip. The clip on that is Banana Lands.
Yeah, I mean, needless to say, I think the summary of this is I wasn't even involved when this first started. I've now become a part of the show just as much as you guys have. It's been so much fun. We've integrated stuff that just like is so dumb and pointless, but we love it. And I think that you guys love it too because you posted in the live chat about all the dumb shit that we also think as well. So for those of you who are always in live chat and always listening to us, like I think we've got just a strong alliance, as some would say, and it just makes it so much fun and it makes all of this so much more rewarding and enjoyable for all of us.
I will mention too that when we put together our top 10 moments list, we had I think 2 specific ones that we left off the list because technically they didn't fall in the 5-year window. And so those are kind of honorable mentions for tonight, which would be Trevor doing his solo pod.
Yes.
And then us bringing on one of our
listeners,
AWLs, Ryan McCord, a couple months ago for a Mount Rushmore. And those were just 2 great moments that, like I said, it's technically in the 6th year or whatever. But we wanted to make sure we mentioned those. And I'm sure when we get to our 10-year anniversary, those will probably be up there. I mean, 2 great moments. McCord coming on was awesome. It was Smirk City. We're doing that again at some point very soon. And then Trevor's solo pod, which not only was a great moment, but I think we all agreed that
it's got to be a tradition.
We're instituting that as a tradition
absolutely.
with these shitty 2, 3, 4, episode finals that they have now.
Absolutely.
Well, and you mentioned the 10-year pod, and it's like I say this show's been going for 5 years now. It has withstood a global pandemic. Who knows what the next 4 or 5 years are going to entail? Honestly, but guess what? Regardless of what happens, in the show getting worse and worse and worse, in the world going to shit, we're going to be here.
Honestly,
and we're going to be here every week when the show's on and in the off season, alive and well, looking forward to the live chat and having a blast while we do it.
Honestly, I don't know how much I got left in me, Andy. So, anything else before we wrap up this pod? We have been going for 90 minutes tonight.
I think the next time we do a podcast I think we save it for the preview of whatever next season is.
So
I think we let this one settle.
Well, I was gonna say,
what was that noise?
Well, I was just like, I'm pissed. This next season kind of sucks.
Oh, you think? I listened back to one of our first podcasts and we were talking about how we could fix the challenge, and that was 5 years ago.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but season 39,
I think,
is all rookie, or like there's no champs.
No, there's
I think there's not Challenge USA.
We'll get into all that.
Saying,
I think
it's going to be in like October, so it's not too far from now. But
we'll get into all that. Stay tuned for the preview.
No, Mikey, I hate 90-minute episodes.
But I think
another recurring bit that we should add in.
This episode that we're doing right now, I love because it's like taking a trip back in the time machine.
God, enough.
No. I mean, serious. I don't think we need to do this every year. I think it's every 5-year thing. So our next big one is going to be the 10-year anniversary.
No.
In 2027.
No, the next one's going to be the MVP, LVP.
Well, yeah, we're doing a part 2 of
that. The reheat almost.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Whoa. Rope up for sure. I mean, you can't just come in here and act like I'm Andy, I'm so strong.
Wait, all right, what about this? We end with this. All 3 of us have to think of one more smirky thing about the podcast that has not been mentioned yet.
Well, let me go this route with you. I hate to piss you guys off.
Can we do my thing?
But we've only done every single live episode. We've done an MVP, LVP. We haven't done an MVP, LVP.
Oh my God. All right, quick MVP, LVP.
I think we have to do MVP, LVP. Add it to the list, right?
My MVP is Throw the Pot.
Wow. My MVP is the chat.
Are you just going to skip over me?
What was the order? I think it's youngest to oldest.
I'm going to go MVP TJ. Made an appearance tonight. Killed it.
LVP.
Shocker.
All right.
My LVP, it's
mine, isn't it?
Snake draft.
Oh, it's you, me, then him. Okay.
My LVP for tonight is going to be Fezzi.
God, my bitch.
He showed up. He played like shit. And the season's not even going.
My LVP is Adam Meadows because he didn't show up tonight.
Ooh.
That's a good pick.
In the next 5 years, how many episodes?
Wait, what's your LVP?
Does Adam
no,
Meadows
he's asking Meadows first. The over-under's got to be 2.5.
4.5 for 5 years.
I think 5 years.
1 a year.
He averages like one season, half a season maybe.
What's going to happen when Huming Sung pops up?
All right, my LVP, it's easy. I'm going that little bitch,
Scott
Yeager.
Oh, come on.
Fucking stupid ass. I fooled his buddy with Alton for a couple years.
I don't know.
He didn't even know. But that
would be a good deep dive.
That's a little treat for everybody who stayed on here the whole time.
That'll be a good deep dive.
But yeah, my LVP is what was the the clip you said where he was making fun of somebody for wearing cheetah print?
Yes, he was wearing zebra print last week. It was him on the banana.
He was talking to you about Paulie, maybe.
Yeah, he's wearing the cheetah print like he's the.
While Yeager was
wearing zebra print.
I mean, I'm sorry. Well, I don't want to end with that. Yeager sucks, but all in all, what a great 5 years.
What a great 5 years.
I mean, look at us.
To the next 5.
Who would have thought?
To the next 5. Could be the same MVP, LVP next time.
Cheers. Well, with that being said,
we love you guys.
Thank you guys for listening to a brand new Stir the Pod podcast show. Be on the lookout for the Alex Burge wedding episode. TBD when that will come out, but it will be in the next couple of weeks. But love you guys. Shout out Duffy. Bye-bye.
Love you guys.
Love you guys.
Love you guys.